Сейчас передам слово
And now I give the floor
Мелиховой,
to Larisa Melikhova,
публикации представитель Dissernet.
from the free online community Dissernet. She will speak about violations of the ethics of scientific publications.
Коллеги, добрый день, спасибо.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Can you see my slides? Thank you.
Нарушение этики, публикации про плагиаты не только. Дело в том, что
Violations of the ethics,
Dissernet,
plagiarism, but not exclusively.
в 2013 году стала заниматься
Dissernet started working in 2013 on plagiarism in PhD papers. When people hear Dissernet, they say, oh, this is about PhD papers, but since then, we've been working on a much broader scale. We studied the landscape of the Russian pseudoscience and
места как бы темные, в которых там
the dark places
of
this landscape contain plagiarism, but it is not separated and isolated from other ethics breach. The previous speaker spoke about that, and I will share with you my and our own experience. This slide shows the sources of our work. We started working with PhD papers, with pages and pages of plagiarized material, and this work is still done. We still check and try to detect plagiarism in PhD papers, but there's less and less material submitted like that. The work has been refined. As for academic cheating, this is the long-standing work. You can see that Kaliningrad moved to Yakutia. Well, you can see that the results are from Kaliningrad, but it was presented as the research in Yakutia. Or maybe you remember a paper about meat, submitted under the title about chocolate, or vice versa. I don't remember what was it about veal or white chocolate, but you know the drill. Here on the slide you can see a more recent example that we call pseudo books. If a person is relieved of their degree, they try to publish a book to prove that they use their own resources, which is not true, of course. And sometimes it leads to funny results, such as the case of the Dean Prokofiev. I'm not sure whether he was relieved of his academic degree. In his paper, law paper, were found excerpts from legal texts that were adopted later than his work was published at all. So, yes, you can see another example, Yulia Anoshina. She published 5 pseudo books with wrong data.
Через какое-то время, после изучения собственной диссертации, стало понятно, что диссертация диссертации, а
After some time,
It
became clear that a person cannot defend a thesis with plagiarism. They also have opponents, they have supervisors. Normally, all of them read this text and they see that something is wrong. Then the dissertation council has to accept it. And then the main points of the dissertation are always published in a journal. So it's a whole community. It's a community of people who know about it, but close their eyes on that. Some dissertations do not show any plagiarism, or rather, they may have been published a long while ago, and there are no digital sources. But sometimes these people later take part in dissertation councils, or they become supervisors for those who write their text with plagiarism. From this was born a new project which is called Dissernet of the universities, where we show the compromised cases. Here I've sorted the people by the number of cases where they served as supervisors or opponents for those who use plagiarism. This cannot be a coincidence. And out of all these champions, only the second person, Rizhov, has resigned. All others keep working at universities, so they teach students.
Например, 47 раз участвовали в защитах списанных диссертаций.
And they themselves copy texts and they cover others who do so. Phantom dissertations are dissertations that cannot be found anywhere. The text cannot be found anywhere, including the Russian State Library. They do not exist in a vacuum either. Here is an example of the St. Petersburg State Economic University, which is on the third place in our anti-ranking in Russia. 1,052 phantom dissertations were found there. I mean, these are the dissertations, the texts of which have never been seen. The Ministry of Education raised a stir around it, and most of them sent their texts. We don't know when these texts have been written because they were submitted to the library much later than the day of the official presentation. The next stage we went on was checking publications for plagiarism. It became clear that this market of falsified publications is even more corrupted than the market of false dissertations. And we used the same principle to check publications. What was born out of it is the project which we call Dissernet of journals. Here you see journals sorted by the number of publications with plagiarism.
Опять-таки в публикации оказался букет различных этических нарушений.
We had a whole bouquet of violations of the ethical code of conduct. It was not just plagiarism, it was also falsification of data. So, like in that classical example where chocolate was replaced with meat, here we see changed dates, changed literature review, and so on and so forth. Here is one more curious case of violation. On our website, it's called Sending Articles from the Shared Address. First of all, we noticed it in the dissertation of Mr. Beglov, the governor of St. Petersburg. No plagiarism was found in his dissertation. And it was curious that Beglov, who has a PhD in technical sciences, and later his doctoral dissertation was written in the Kazakh culture. Kazakh studies. We checked his articles, the articles which were the foundation for his doctoral dissertation. It turned out that all the 5 articles are copied completely from one dissertation on the Kazakh studies. Of course, we can't prove anything, but we can suggest that that the dissertation was written by one person and the articles were written by another person. Curious fact with these articles is that all of them were sent not from Beglov's email, but from another email. That's Sterlikov's chair. And Sterlikov is one of the people I showed on the previous slide, who is a champion in the cases of taking part in falsifications.
Посылались все эти статьи, и после этого мы посмотрели еще много других, обнаружили статей, которые посылались с этого же адреса, то есть десятками статей, то есть понятно, что просто, видимо, на этой кафедре...
So dozens of articles were sent from this email address. It seems like one and the same person was writing all of them. One more kind of a violation of the code of conduct and of academic dishonesty is writing reports on grants using old publications. When academics have to report on the grant, they share articles that they wrote before they received the grant. Sometimes they change it a little bit. Here we can see that the changes are not really thorough. All the green areas are matching text. And it's not even plagiarism, it's falsification, because this is a report on the grant they received. Phantom publications is the next point. Sometimes the monography mentions one's own articles, which cannot be found anywhere. Of course, we can say that it is just a mistake. But sometimes phantom publications are found in the same journal. And we understand that the editor-in-chief was connected with all these dissertations. He was their supervisor. It becomes clear that it is not an accident. But we don't have a lot of cases like that. We don't look for them on purpose. We just encounter them by accident. Translated plagiarism, we have already spoke today about translating from Chinese. What we also did was working with prey journals. For example, here to Semyonova, a few more authors are added. Then the article is translated via machine translation, and this is sent to a journal. And the result is a publication in English. So you see 7 co-authors bring an article. They pay for this article to be paid. Then the authors receive grants and different bonuses at their universities. In particular, this is a lady who has a lot of publications. Your articles were used as sources for translated plagiarism. Since there are 12 of such resources, we can guess that she actually sold her texts, added co-authors, and sent them into English language journals. together with other co-authors.
По поводу мусорных и хищных журналов. Мусор...
As for predatory journals,
было исключено вот 300 мусорных журналов, 8000...
in 2017, 300 rubbish journals were excluded from RINs. In 2018, around 8,000 collections of articles after conferences. Since 2018, we have not seen such massive exclusions. When it happened on such a huge scale, we received a list of authors who had the biggest number of publications in those journals that were excluded from RINs, from the Russian Index of Academic Journals.
Когда мы не видели этих данных, то мы думали, ну, может быть, там будет там 10 статей там в этих исключенных журналах. Подумаешь, мы никак не можем сказать, что тут что-то плохое.
At first, we thought it was not a problem, but then once we got the data, Rostonsov and I were astonished. 626 publications. That's a lot for anyone. But here, this number was encountered in all the journals that were excluded from RINs. The hugest rubbish that even RINs did not want to keep. We did not check all these 626 texts for plagiarism. Maybe it does not contain plagiarism, although I don't think anybody could write this number of original publications. So 626 worst journals accepted his publication. Of course, it is highly suspectable. And the same goes true for foreign predatory journals. We have another list of authors with plagiarism found in predatory international journals. Here, in these cases, this is not plagiarism, or rather, we don't know if it is. For example, the Kazan Federal University published 4,900 articles in 1 year or in 2 years in the journals which we define as predatory by different parameters. Of course, something is wrong here. This is a case of reinforcing unethical behavior when Mr. Medvedev published 42 articles in a year in a predatory Indian journal. For the university, it's really good. It was a Scopus journal, then it was thrown away from Scopus, but at the moment of publication, it was in Scopus. So the university raised its ranking, got more funding, so this is why Mr. Medvedev was awarded for this.
Ну и, соответственно, таким же образом делается накрутка цитирования, когда публикуется много статей в хищном журнале, а потом на эти статьи еще делается цитирование из других статей.
Another way of unethical work is adding references. So when articles are published in predatory journals, and then these articles are referenced. In 2019, the Don Higher Technical University became top referenced. We know this university really well because of a lot of cases of violation, including plagiarism. Plagiarism and mass publications in predatory journals.
Известный как бы престижный рейтинг международный, это не какой-нибудь мусорный рейтинг.
And here it found itself in a very prestigious international ranking.
Выглядело, скажем, странно.
That looked weird, to say the least.
Из которого видно, что
here you can see the chart.
Качество иногда имеет мало отношения к цитированию. По
quality
X здесь
has very little to do with referencing, as shown here.
Но мы видим, что по оси X
The vertical axis is citations. The horizontal is research.
По оси Y у нас
On the
Донской, Горный,
horizontal axis, we see
и так далее.
highly respected universities, and with references, there we see
Я скажу немножко о
some
последнем.
suspicious
О последнем
cases.
нашем большом проекте. Это многие знают такой организацию под названием Международный
At the end, I want
издатель,
to say a couple of words about
который
our
публикует вот
most
такие
recent
офферы.
project.
Значит,
You all
пожалуйста,
maybe
платите
know
ваши денежки,
the
вы получите
project An International Editor
побольше денежек, вы будете
that
первым
send
соавтором,
offers.
поменьше денежек, вы
So
будете
please
четвертым,
pay
там,
us
пятым,
and you
шестым
will
иногда
be
соавтором.
a
Статьи, которая
co-author
будет через
in our
год
article.
опубликована, допустим,
An
в
article
Scopus
which will be
журнале.
published in a year
Ну,
in a
вот
Scopus
человек
journal.
платит, даже еще не зная название статьи, только зная
People
примерную
pay
тему. И потом через год действительно
even
выходит
before
статья.
they know
Философском
the
журнале.
topic of the article, and then in a year they get the publication. As far as I know, Ms. Kulishova tried to fight it somehow.
Ну, они же ничего не нарушают, потому что услуга-то оказана, да, так что
But
всё
then
нормально.
the answer was, well, they don't violate
Это же
anything, the service was rendered.
То есть по нашему законодательству невозможно придраться. Они совершенно открыто все это публикуют в интернете.
It is completely legal. They publish it openly online, this offer service, and the service is rendered.
За год у них архив.
We downloaded their archive for a year.
Поняла, как до него добраться.
Ms. Balkina
Но его скачали,
managed to get to it, and then in a year we tracked
соответственно, шли через международные издатели.
the publications that went through this project. Here are examples of these publications. A few participants in an article from Nizhny Novgorod, a dean from Nizhny Novgorod, an author from Kazakhstan, an author from GU and the Financial University. So the team can be completely random, from Moscow, from Kaliningrad, and another author would be Professor Lu from China.
Все это, значит, каким образом они вот так вот написали совместную статью, никаких других совместных публикаций работы.
They don't have any other shared publications.
Они купили места в международном издательстве.
So here they just bought their places on the international editor.
Мы хотели уже довольно давно выпустить по
A
этому
long time ago, we wanted to publish a report about it. We wanted to cause a stir. We wanted to close this project. But because of the current events, we haven't done it. And it seems like now it is not that important because there are a lot of new problems in science. But I hope that we will do it sooner or later. Well, now we have everything on our website, by the way. We just haven't published it in the open media yet, but on the Dissernepedia of the university's personas, we have this tab with 805 authors. These are the authors who purchased their way into international articles. And the very last thing I want to say that maybe very soon Dissernet will not be necessary because by 2024 a state Dissernet will be created. We don't know what it will be like, but most likely it will be something good with a lot of funding, and everything will be fine with detecting plagiarism. This is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for an extremely interesting talk.